Welcome to the Geekz 31 Days of Horror for Halloween. This is Alil.
And this is Steve.
And tonight we're reviewing Saw X from 2023. So for those of you who have not been with us before, we will play for you our rating system. 3, 2, 1.
This has a rating system in place that we like to call 0 to 0. If whatever horror movie we're reviewing is terrifying only to the most infantile who get nightmares from PG-13 reboots, it gets a 0. If it's a gorgasm-inducing slaughter party that satiates your most devious and monstrous desires, it gets a hero.
A sick and desperate John travels to Mexico, and not that kind of John. John Kramer. He travels to Mexico.
That was a funny way to...
for a risky and expert.
Oh,
I can't stop laughing.
Wait,
but for a risky medical procedure in the hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable.
That sucks that that's the synopsis, because that's kind of a cool reveal about 35 minutes into the movie. So I hit this is one of those movies where the trailer really there's just no twist. If you see the trailer, if you read anything,
you know
about
what's
it,
happening, right?
Yeah,
and
it's a cool twist.
That's my problem with this movie. There is no twist. There is no. They try to make a twist. They try to, and you knew it was what was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. I had no doubt when the supposed twist happened.
Fucking Crocodile Dundee came back.
Yeah, it was just what? Okay. I like the Saw movies for the most part. I don't love them all. I mean, I still hold the first Saw in real high regard. I was really surprised with that movie when I went to the theater to see that movie. I still remember seeing it with Jenny, and that was the first time. I remember seeing it with Jenny too. And that was really, and that was the first time in a long time. It's the first time in a long time that I was actually I left the movie theater and looking over my shoulder, God, that pig face thing coming out of nowhere, that shit got me. It wasn't the gore of the traps and everything. It was just the whole scheme of it all, right? That this
traps in the first one seemed, plausible, doable.
Yeah. Well, they went
so
out
mechanical.
Of control. Yeah, they went out of
so
control.
Elaborate. Later on, you're like, God damn, just the cost of the machinery alone. You're sitting there wiring that for days. That's so big.
Well, we'll talk about one of the traps in this one where I was just really?
The traps in this one seem uneven.
Yes, agreed.
Wow, that's all you have to do? Well, what about what she had to do?
Yeah. I give this movie a low sidekick. I wanted to love it. I was really hoping for it. I heard good things. So I had, and maybe that's what it is. My expectations going into it were ooh, this is going to be good. Because I heard good things before we watched it. And then I watched it and I was very disappointed. I was disappointed with the story. I was disappointed with the twists. I was disappointed with the timeline. I was just oh my God, we're here again. How many times am I going to see sick John Kramer dealing with stuff and trying to, be the good guy? I just didn't care as much. And there was one or two cool scenes that I was just oh, that got me. That was interesting. But then after all that other stuff, I was nah, all right. And then Billy the Puppet. God damn it! Billy the Puppet is your mascot.
Well, it's Mexico. He's got to drag that thing fucking all the way down there. It's not like it's.
He had it there, but it didn't talk.
It's true. He did make the whole.
It didn't do his shit. It didn't do what
it's true. He did.
Do.
I don't even know what my argument meant because he was fucking there. So. I agree with you. It's a low sidekick. There are a couple of very you just watch it and you're just oh, God. it's just a lot of body horror, a lot of cringe. Like it makes you tingle, it makes you like tense up. There's a lot of that here. But like I said, I feel like I feel like the playing field wasn't fair. What some people were asked to do versus others.
for sure.
And I don't know, it just sort of ends, and I know it's how it's supposed to, but like I think I have the same problem that a lot of people have, and I know our good buddies over there at the Horror Returns, I think Brian especially had a huge problem with the girl Amanda. It's supposed to take place between movies 1 and 2, and a lot of times passed between movies 1 and 2 being filmed, and she's a pretty lady, but she's not fucking 25. You know what I'm saying? Like, like let's be real here. Tobin Bell, he's aging just fine. He looks just the same as he always has. He hit the whatever age he was going to age to and stopped. So, that's fine.
But I agree with that. Like if you want to keep telling stories in between the Saw movie, like the original Saw with Tobin Bell, great. Well, and stop bringing in Amanda because
it's fine, right? Because he doesn't really have to do anything. He doesn't have to do anything physical. I think that's why you need a sidekick. I don't necessarily think you need Amanda, but you need somebody to do the heavy lifting. Like John Kramer's not out there fucking tackling people. Agreed. So, all that being said, like it just sort of ends. Where was it gonna end? It has to end right before the second movie starts. But I just didn't.
I hate the convoluted timeline. Like it's just with everything. Just like you look at all 10 movies now, and you're putting all the pieces together, and it's like then they had to bring back the detective, and I'm like, and he.
Oh, I know.
We're in spoilers. Steve, like what'd you rate it, Steve? Hold on.
A low sidekick. I agreed with you, and I said, but like that was like the credit scene, and like they didn't even John didn't even give that guy a fucking chance. He didn't tell him like he's like going to play a game, and then the fucking machine started like digging into his tummy. I was like, well, that's not fair.
This weird Freddy Krueger machine with those fingers. Like, I was like,
it was like Five Nights at Freddy's. It was like he stuck him in one of those animatronics.
Yeah, it's disappointing. So let's get to the kill. So in the beginning, he's getting his cancer diagnosis and testing and whatever, like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how far is this in between the first one and the second one? Like, how much time are we having here? Because like he messed up Carrie Elway's pretty bad in the first one, right? And like that was his doctor who diagnosed him, and now he's at this level, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give that gimme. I'm not gonna worry about the timeline until they brought Amanda in, and then I'm like, what the fuck? Where is this happening? Like what is happening?
You didn't know she was gonna be in this movie?
I didn't watch the trailers. I didn't watch any trailers. All I saw was the poster with the X.
And you didn't read the synopsis, so you didn't know about the hospital. So that was a good twist for you then.
All of it. But you know what? Right when I was like, oh, there's this experimental thing. I'm like, oh fuck, he's gonna kill all of them because they're gonna fucking screw him. I knew that. Like the minute I heard this, I was like, these are the people that are gonna die. That's it. I knew.
And what was the first red flag? I don't know. Maybe when the armed guards fucking kidnapped me and dragged me to a fucking hospital with ski masks on.
I knew all that was a plot. I knew that was all like this whole thing. Oh, we've got to hide from big pharma or whatever, or the big doctors that don't want us. I'm like, no, this is all bullshit.
The best was when she was like setting up her other target, and she just had stacks of money with post-it notes with names on it. Stacks of hundreds she's putting in a fucking duffel bag. Like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, why do you have stacks of cash with last names on it and a murder board in your office with names and how much money you're fucking robbing them of, and little fucking strings of like, you're a terrible criminal. A terrible criminal. You're really bad at this. Ugh.
And I just knew that there were, it was funny because I picked up on it the minute he was sitting there, like almost like shaking when he was having that meal when he saw that one guy who showed him his scar. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, nope, this guy's a fucking
He's a plant.
And I'm like, this is all John's gonna kill all these guys. Like I'm like, that's what they're he's the superhero, right? Because he's
this
fighting
movie,
for the little guy.
Yeah, like let's also go back to the fact that he was, he's always been a bad guy. Like, yeah, he has a sympathetic backstory, but he is a bad person. In this movie, he is the protagonist. You are rooting for John Kramer throughout.
Agree.
You want him to win.
And the other thing that pissed me off was like Jigsaw, like even in the first one, like that he had a bit of a kill count, right? But not anything that was like that he's like this legend that the doctor would have known about. And she's like, oh, right. The famous Jigsaw. I'm like, no, we've only had one movie, and Danny Glover, like, was chasing him down, but like we saw the previous stuff. Like it wasn't that many people. Like this isn't like this thing that's huge. Like it is after 9 movies where all these people have fallen into the Jigsaw traps and everything. Because I think it was actually the FBI agent that took it to the next level because he was just outright murdering people in all these traps. But how she's like, oh, the famous John Kramer. And I'm like, what? I was like, this doesn't fit. Like none of this makes sense. That's why I was
killer. Like,
yeah, what? that's why to me the timeline thing made me so mad because it was just like, no, like if you want to do this, have it. And I know because they killed him. Like he died.
I can't complain about the continuity in the timeline because I have not seen every.
It's been a long time. Well, that's right. We need to go back and review all of them.
I have not seen all of them, so I don't know.
Crazy, Steve, because like all of a sudden, like he shows up again, and like you have to. Oh my god, it's disappointing because the first movie was so good. That's the thing. The first movie was so good, and it had the perfect twist. And this movie,
I like that we got the trap from the poster. Sucked his eyeballs out. I like the little noises it makes.
Dream sequence. It didn't even happen.
Was it a dream sequence?
Yeah, because he was thinking about the trap as he was watching the guy steal, and then he's like, then the guy saw him and put the money back, and then he's like, good job, and he let him go. That wasn't real. It didn't happen. That's all. That's when at that moment I was like, fuck this.
Dream sequence traps.
I'm like, I'm done with you, John Kramer. It's like because you're almost dead. Like you can't pull this off. And like that's the thing. Like
he's like an old man sitting in the park drawing fucking death traps, feeding the birds.
Oh my god, that was the worst too. Yeah, and then he's like, oh, I'm just gonna throw this one away. And then
at one point, like this guy shows up as he's like, so that's the thing. So the traps, like this one lady has to cut her leg off. Right.
That was a good trap.
And then suck out enough bone marrow to set off this little switch over here that's going to trigger
stop this thing from decapitating her.
Stop another saw from cutting her head off. And that scene was hard to watch. That was a long scene. And at one point, like at the last bit, she's struggling to get through that last bit of skin on her leg as it's pulling up. And you're just like, oh, fuck. And then she's got to take that big fucking needle thing and jam it in her fucking bone. And it's just sucking blood, so much fucking blood on just a little bit of marrow at a time, and she gets almost there, but not quite, and then it cuts her fucking head off. Oh my god!
Again, I was like, all right, I enjoy this one.
Then you have the other guy who has to cut part of his skull off, and then get enough brain matter
into the scale
to
another scale
fizz this thing up. Either way, he has to cut a hole in his skull, pull that off, and then cut part of his brain out and put it in the acid reflux fucking cup. And that's Crazy. Of course, he does it, but not enough. And he also gets he gets like a weird tiki mask put on that burns his face.
Yeah, he gets the thing that shuts down on his face and melts him.
Then we have another girl who is told that there's going to point a radiation gun at her, and she's got to break her hand or her foot.
And her foot, both. To be
Well, both, but like I'm thinking, like break your hand first, because then you're going to hit the ground, right?
Yep.
Then you'll have the leverage to really do what you got to do, even if the fucking radiation gun follows you.
Yeah.
This evil fucking bitch tells her, like, break your fucking leg first so you can move out of the way.
And we knew that she was evil, so.
But like that trap seems way less scary.
It is.
Than any of the other things.
How the hell do you rig this radiation gun hanging from a ceiling?
To track you. To like unless you're sitting up there with a fucking joystick, like, yeah, look. Video game idea.
Yeah. There you go. Super Freddy too. But yeah, I did not like that one. So I'm like, okay, so we've got one fake out trap, which was cool, but not real. And then 2 out of the 3 here with this group, awesome, right?
And then you had this guy shows up in the middle of all this saying he wants his money back, and they trap him and, like, you know, make him watch what they're doing. John thinks that he's like with John. He's like a guy that got screwed over. Wait, either way, we know as an audience that guy's in on it too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the movie doesn't want you to know that, but I mean, we know.
Right. Well, and then we find out that John knows too.
And then it was fucking terrible. He's like, hey, missed you, babe. Like, oh my God. What is this fucking Saturday morning cartoon villain shit? Like, and then they go on their whole fucking monologue. They monologue like it's the fucking 90s.
I hated this whole thing.
Like,
it made me so mad. Then they go get this kid outside that somehow John planted out there somehow. I don't know why this kid got caught.
Kid's playing kickball against the fucking medical facility at 4:30 in the morning. And they grab this kid and they waterboard him and John with blood. It's kind of gross.
It is gross, but like they
but
play
they're like,
it right.
Oh, let's go get our money. Let's go get the duffel bag of our money from John before he's dead. We're just gonna assume this plays. I'm telling you, Lil, they're like old 90s comic book movie villains. Yeah. It's like, we're just gonna hope that this plays out. Or we're gonna go get our money first.
And they just leave Amanda chained there to the other machine. Nothing.
I like how
get our money first.
Like fucking just. I mean, I guess all that shit deactivates once they pick the money bag up, but and then they're forced to fight to the death.
Yep, because Amanda said if she's gonna kill you, you know that. I was just like, all right.
I loved how they kept doing things like showing us things like, ooh, look, remember this? This is how it really was. But they were just showing us things that we'd never seen before. Like just scenes that we was like, oh, well,
oh, he was emptying out the bullets of the gun. Oh, he was doing this. You know, the guy was knocked out for hours. You know, I was like, all right.
I guess.
Sure. And then,
the lady lives. She sticks her head out of that hole.
Yeah, she's alive somehow.
But like her skin was all fucked up on her face.
It was, but she's trapped in that room too. The room doesn't open up. So she's just gonna sit there and starve to death anyway.
But her body's still stuck in there. That's what I'm saying. Like whatever's in there is eating her fucking body up. Like
right.
So the only, but like you're supposed to be able to live in Jigsaw's traps and like.
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't always say live or die, make your choice. And I'm like, but that was your whole line. That's what I liked. I like the fact that if they do this like Amanda did, they'll live with the problem, you know. What
should have happened is she should have stuck her head out of that fucking hole and her head gets cut off. And he's like, really, all you had to do is work together and you both could have opened the door.
Something like
if you would have not tried to kill each other.
Yeah, if you both would have whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then they open the door and the sun is rising and credits start running. And then we get an end credit scene where we meet the guy that showed him the scar in the beginning. And he's getting tied up by the cop and they are going to kill him, I guess. They're digging in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pure murder. Which I do like the music. I've always liked the theme. But
it's a great theme. We stole it. We use it. But it's just a disappointing outing in the Saw franchise, I think.
It is. I never saw Spiral, and I know you said it sucked.
So, but like now I'm wondering, like, did you watch Saw 1, then put on Saw X, and then go right into Saw 2?
I don't know. I have to map out this timeline now. I think yes.
You know, it's kind of like how you have to put different movies. You have to watch Tokyo Drift after
7.
Fast 7.
Yeah.
Now, so it's like in order to get the timeline right. So,
or is it after 7? Yeah, because it's 8 that they're all in, right? That he shows up from Tokyo Drift. I can't remember now.
See. Well, he dies in Tokyo Drift, but then like he's in 5, 6, 7, but he's not in
after 7. Yeah,
he's not in 8.
But then Han is still alive anyway, so
and he's not in 9, or he comes back in 9, and he's in 10.
Just forget it. This is all convoluted nonsense. It's 10 movies.
They all work for fucking Kurt Russell. I mean,
yeah. We just want to see the cool traps in Saw, and we want to see Billy the puppet come out and tell everybody live or die.
But I want less convoluted traps. I want like less crazy mechanical, like do this and suck out the bone marrow. Like all that stuff's cool, but like I like that one in the beginning that was like that guy was like covered in fucking flammable shit, and he had to figure out this code, and all he had to was a candle to figure out this code, and he slips and fucking catches on fire.
Yeah,
like. Super simple. The one guy that like had to do something with the razor wire and he ended up getting cut up in the razor wire. I forget what it was, but like it's razor wire and he had to crawl through it and he got fucked up. Like, you know, like it's super simple. Now it's like bone marrow and I need you to remove part of your skull and the brain matter has to affect this
remember
acid
the one with
like
with
fucking
the big
shit.
The swinging axe or whatever the hell you call it, and it's like you have this gigantic rig set up. Like, who are you?
For the swimming pool full of needles. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because there were some that were simple, like, right? Like, you had your hand stuck in there, you had your 2 hands stuck in there, and it's going to cut your wrists. You got to figure out how to get out. Well, that's easy. Not easy to do. I mean, you'd be freaking stressed out and freaking out, but, like, it made it simple. But these now are just ridiculous. I mean, even the first one.
There's no way, like that, cut off your leg and all that shit, and like, there's a chance you do all that, and then what happens to her? Like, that's gonna be quick. I'm gonna be out in no time.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, fucking done. I didn't fucking sit here and cut through my leg for the last fucking 2 minutes that I'm alive.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nonsense. So, all right. Well, that's it. Thank you for listening. If you watched Saw X, I'm curious what you thought. If you're a big fan of the franchise, does this live up to the hype of the franchise? Is this a good, stellar outing for John Kramer? So
I think we're done with Saw.
I don't think we're ever done with Saw. This is the low budget movies that make.
You never saw Spiral?
I didn't see Spiral. No, we were supposed to review it, and we were going to talk about it. So maybe we'll have to do that next year.
I mean, it was a pandemic.
Yeah, true. All right, that's it for tonight. This is Lil.
And this is Steve. And until tomorrow night, everybody, keep it creepy.